Welcome to another episode of The Romance of Writing, where I share with you how dating can teach you about writing your soulmate, soul-led genius book. Today's topic is it's not about language, it's about depth. So, are you ready to listen to the juicy story and see how that actually relates to writing your book? It's not about language, it's about depth. Let me share with you a story or two about my own experience in love and romance. And then we'll come to the moral of the story when it comes to writing and creativity. For me, language has always been my passion. I have a knack for learning and picking up new languages. And when I came to Bali, Indonesia, about a decade ago, I just fell in love with the people, the customs, the culture. And throughout my time here in Bali and in Indonesia, I have fallen in love with two different Indonesian guys. And the first guy that I fell in love with spoke zero English. Like he just could not say any English at all except for thank you, sorry, and goodbye. Or my name is so and so. Like the just like he barely spoke any English at all, but I had a crush on him. I fell in love with him. And as the linguist, the writer, the poet, the romantic that I was and still am, um, I just felt compelled to express my heart and my love and my feelings for him. But at the time, I spoke no Indonesian. So at first, we had to use Google Translate. And 10 years ago, Google Translate was nowhere as sophisticated and accurate as it is now. So we were like, I was sitting with the guy and I was like typing things furiously into Google Translate. And then it turned into something in Indonesian and he read it and he was like, huh? And it made no sense because it was Google Translate was still pretty rubbish back then. So it was really frustrating because I couldn't relay, I couldn't express what I wanted to say. And that was when I decided I have to learn Indonesian. I have to learn Indonesian, but not like, tourist on a tourist level. Like of course, like there's the basics and you learn to count and how to bargain in the market and how to have daily conversation and that kind of basic stuff. But I was not interested in that. I was more interested in learning Indonesian where I could express the depths of my heart and my emotions and my feelings and how certain things were having me feel certain ways, right? And that's when I hire a private tutor in Indonesian language to come to my house twice a week to give me private lesson where I would write down in English like a love letter. And then I asked my teacher, my tutor, to translate that into Indonesian for me. And I would handwrite that and share the letter with the guy. And then I would be like, okay, okay, I was so curious what his reaction would be. And he would receive my letter in Indonesian, the letter that I initially wrote in English, and my tutor or teacher helped me translate. And my teacher is a very high level teacher. He's advanced. He's not just an English teacher. He's not just an Indonesian language teacher. He also teaches culture and stuff, right? So, his translation was really good. And I could tell, as an English teacher, I could tell this is a really good translation. It's not just like dictionary translation. Anyway, I sent my letter to the guy and I was like, whoo, I don't know what he would say. And to my dismay and disappointment, he did not respond. Like, I thought if he were to respond in Indonesian, at least I would have something to show my teacher and like, hey, what does this guy mean? But there was no response from him. He was not able to really take in what the hell I was saying. And 3 years after that, okay, so Okay, so that thing didn't go anywhere. Didn't really go anywhere. And 3 years after that, I fell in love with another Indonesian guy. At this time, my Indonesian language level was already so good. At by this time, I had been living with an Indonesian family. I had been like participating in all of their activities and customs. I had been working in an Indonesian company. I had Indonesian staff working with me and under me. I had conducted interviews to hire new staff members in Indonesian. I had conducted full meetings in Indonesian. My Indonesian skill was really good. Um, so then I fell in love with another Indonesian guy. And by this time, we could already converse. And this guy spoke pretty decent English. He could understand almost all of the things that I was saying. And I could really converse with him. And when we were going out with his friends, he could speak Indonesian and I would understand everything. Like we could like speak bilingually with each other. So at this point, language was no longer a barrier. I felt so comfortable. I was just like, oh, this is just easy. I could understand jokes in Indonesian. Um, and he spoke pretty good English. And so me being a writer and a poet and a romantic at heart, of course, when I was in love with someone, I couldn't help but write all of these poetic, beautiful things from my heart to share with him. But he couldn't receive it. As in, he would read it and he would be at a loss for it. He was like, okay, I don't know how to respond to what you just said. Like, I don't understand. This is too deep for me. Um, it just like washed over his head. And at this point, I was like, okay, this is different from how it was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, that was the language barrier. 3 years ago, we didn't speak each other's languages. This time, I was speaking perfect Indonesian, and he understood English really well. This is no longer a language barrier. It's not even a cultural barrier. There was no cultural barrier. And this is when it hit me. It's not about language. It's not even about culture. It's about depth. It's about whether someone has the ability and the capacity to meet you at your depth, at your emotional, energetic depth. It's not about the words that you use. It's not about whether they could understand the words that you use. It's not about using the right words to convey your feelings. It's beyond that. Someone could understand perfectly every word that you say and still miss the depth of what you wanted to convey. Someone could, break down your sentences or someone could break down your sentences into words or break down your paragraphs into sentences and understand each of them one by one, but completely lose the meaning of what you are trying to share. Like the point is just lost on them. This is similar to a metaphor that I share time and time and time and time again. Like what I'm saying to you, what I'm sharing with you, what I'm teaching is me using my finger to point at the moon. I want you to see the moon. I don't want you to see my finger. Like my finger is only the medium. It's only the means to help you see what I'm trying to point at, which is the moon. So in these two cases, right, the person, when a person understands the language, they see the finger, but it doesn't mean they can see the moon. It's not about the finger, it's about the moon. It's not about language, it's about depth. It's beyond language. It's when we communicate with each other, when we write, when we express our feelings, our ideas, words are the means, the tools, the medium that we use to translate this formless energy, the unseen, the invisible. We use words as the medium to translate that formless energy into something that the other person can appreciate and understand. But we don't want the understanding to just stop there on the surface level of the words. We want the receiver, the audience, the readers, the listeners to get that which is behind the words and beyond the words. So we need two to clap, right? We need, first of all, the listener has to have the capacity to meet us at our depth. Someone can understand the language perfectly and still miss the meaning beyond the words. And then the other part that we, the the communicator, the writer, the speaker, our part is to share, to speak, to write our message from a place that is rooted in the formless. That is the source of our communication. The source of our message is not in the words. The source of our message is not in the language. It's not in any words that we use. The source of our message, the potency, the power, the depth of our message comes from the formless. It comes before form. It comes from the invisible. The most powerful and potent and impactful message that you can share with anyone has to be rooted in the formless energy. And once you are clear, once that source is clear, is potent, then you can use words or language as the medium to translate that into something that then the receiver or the listener can receive and understand and appreciate. So we need both interplay with each other. So the next point here that I want to make is we are at a crucial point. I believe we are at a really important and crucial point in the evolution of who we are as writers, as artists, as creatives. This is a crucial point in the journey of our creative evolution. The um, the appearance of AI on the scene and all of the writing that AI can do for us and can help us edit and perfect and turn out has made so many people forget what is important. When you read something that is created predominantly by AI, something that was sourced not in this potent, powerful, impactful wellspring of soul. When you read something that was created and sourced by AI right from the start, that thing is cut off from the source. Remember what I was saying? The impact doesn't come from the language, doesn't come from the words, it comes from the source. So something that was written predominantly was conjured up, that was created purely from AI through AI, it doesn't have root, it doesn't have soul, it doesn't have a source. It has all of these beautiful, profound, flowery, impressive languaging and wording that can feel, on first glance, really sophisticated and worldly and deep even. But actually, they have no substance. Any impact that we can make on the audience or the readers comes from the source, the invisible, the formless. I am not saying you should not use AI to help you. Not at all. I am saying you can use it. You can use AI, but the source needs to come from you. the wellspring, the root of this gift that you want to give to others has to come from you first and foremost. You source it there from the formless. The moon, this thing that is beyond form, has to come from the formless through you, and then AI can be the finger. Like, okay, you can have your own finger, but you can also use AI as artificial finger to help you point more elegantly and eloquently at the moon, but not at the cost of what you are trying to point at. So I'll circle back to the beginning, the point that I was making with, my experience in love and romance with these guys. At first, I thought it was about the language, and then I found out it wasn't about the language. It's about depth. Anything that you write or create or communicate through the medium of words. I'll just speak about the medium of words here because this is my expertise. This is my playground. I make no claims about any other forms or mediums. I just speak about words here as a writer and a writing teacher. It's about, so where was I? I lost my point. It's it's about depth. Anything that you write, don't lose your focus. Don't get too caught up and distracted and drawn into the wording, into the language, into the form, into the medium. Of course, you need it because, like, remember me and the first guy, we still needed Google Translate, no matter how shitty Google Translate was at the time. And then it was so shitty, I realized, okay, I need to learn the language. So, yes, we need language, we need the medium, we need words to convey what we want to say, but it's beyond that. It's beyond language. It's beyond words. So don't let AI and ChatGPT fool you into thinking that they can replace you. No, they can't. They can't. The language, the words can be outsourced, but the essence that is beyond form, the essence that precedes the form cannot be outsourced. It has to come from us. And a discerning and emotionally attuned reader or member of your audience will be able to meet you where you're at without your wording having to be perfect. They will know it, and they will also be able to spot it when you are over relying on flowery machinery languaging, where you're hiding your essence behind these flowery wording and languages. We want to trust a lot more than in the essence of what we are communicating from the heart. All right, so enjoy writing, enjoy learning new languages, enjoy experimenting with communicating your heart in different ways, in different languages to people who may not share your language. And then have a look out for this thing where I share with you. It's not about language, it's about depth. Because you know this, you've had experiences where someone was totally fumbling over their words or stuttering and absolutely not being eloquent at all, but you could feel the depth of what they wanted to say. And that is more impactful than any well-written, perfectly grammatically structured sentences that was come up by ChatGPT. And you know that. I'm just here to remind you of that. It's not about language. It's about depth. And if you are ready to write your book from depth, from the depth of your soul, so that it can touch the reader's heart and soul at their depth too, then I have a free creative activation to birth your next book. The link is down below. Enjoy. And remember to subscribe to the video series so that you get notified when the next episode is released.